All right, we are live. Welcome back, everyone. J-Bone here for Smash This Podcast. Ah, crap. See, I don't have the headset in tonight. And normally I have all that stuff muted ahead of time. Getting better at that. Hey, what can I say? It's going on the fly here. All right. Got that all taken care of. Late on a Sunday night, very long weekend, a very good weekend. Great weekend with the kids, celebrating my daughter's graduation. Had the kids over for the weekend. And so I'm catching up on everything. Wrestling-wise, news on CM Punk. And a few short days ago, I started thinking about how long I had been on YouTube. And so, just for shits and giggles, I went to go back at my first official vlog, not the little silly stuff I was putting on here at first, but my first official original content, attempting to talk to an audience. And I realized it was, well, it's a day ago now, but 5 years ago, yesterday. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I got no streamers. I don't have a big Kenny Omega IWGP Heavyweight Championship celebration, golden stuff everywhere. No, it's just me talking to you guys. But I was thinking about it over the course of the weekend, here and there, while I was grilling out with the kids, doing stuff, doing family things, had a couple friends over. And I was like, wow, 5 years. And I went back and I watched my first video before the weekend hit. And I don't even sound the same, as my body's been through a lot with asthma and COPD and stuff. I don't even have the same voice anymore, and it's kind of funny. I've done everything from reviewing pay-per-views to talking about real life, losing my mother, having new podcast friends on here, buddies, talking about stuff. I mean, as someone who started out here by himself and then became a part of the Rambling About Wrestling podcast with Dizzy, Max, and Jordan, Barron. We're supposed to be talking tomorrow night. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. We'll see. Dizzy wants to do a catch-up video, so look for that tomorrow night. Probably be during Raw. We'll see. I don't know. Good old Ramblers. Then that grew into the Ramblers getting in touch with a few other podcasts. Let's make sure my video's still working here. We got together with guys like the Wrestle Addict. We had Mind of Carnage. Oh man, there was a handful of others, and I'm not going to remember them all. So please forgive me. It's not that you're not important. I'm just not remembering them off the top of my head. Got to meet such great guys and some of them I haven't talked to in a while. Paul Sweat, Chris Oney, Chris Phoenix. I'm recently back together with some of the guys from Wrestle Addict who went on to really grow their own show as Rant with Ant. Guys like Anthony DeStefano, G-Rod. I've communicated with a few others over the last couple of years, just growing the channel, working with others, trying to draw in a whole new fan base with watching shows like Lucha Underground and kind of getting away from some of the WWE stuff. And just having the channel evolve over the last 5 years and watching different things. I tried branching off, starting another channel, rebooting the whole Destroying Kayfabe thing while CM Styles was going through his own things in life, and having him come back. Now he's taking a break again while he relocates. I've gone back and forth doing all sorts of different things, podcasting, bringing the wrestling content back on here full time, retiring the other channel. It's gone all over the place. A big roller coaster. Majority of it positive, not a lot of negative. And I've probably seen some of the biggest growth in the channel over the course of the last 6 months to a year on this channel. And it just feels good, really communicating a lot with a whole new family. Now I'm with wrestling.com doing Lucha Underground. Hey, it's coming back this week. And House of Hardcore stuff. Back with the Rant with Ant family doing Impact reviews on their site on rantwithant.com. And it's through being a podcast family and everybody just, sharing the love and everything. And it's just watching the channel grow has made me feel really good as a person. It makes up for the other things in life that aren't going quite so well. This is my therapy, wrestling is like, you say it's like a drug. Well, it's, for me, I consider it more therapy because it's my escape, between that and music. So I just wanted to take a moment and just send a bunch of love out to everyone who I've been involved with over the years in the world of wrestling, podcasting, from Styles, the Rant with Ant guys, to the Ramblers, and everyone in between. Just thank you for making me part of your family and sharing the love, both ways. Makes me feel really good. Am I going to be on here another 5 years? We'll see. Who knows? You never know what life brings. So just wanted to take a moment and reflect on that a little bit, and just say a very humble thank you to everyone who's watched me over the last 5 years. We've had a lot of subs come and gone, and so just, hey, thanks a lot. We have someone in the chat. CM Punk versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. That's the fight to make. I don't know about that. Well, we'll see. That's interesting to say the least. But hey, yeah, let's use that as a segue to hey, Baron, what's up? Much love back to you, dude. Thanks. Jay Dizzle. Hey, that sounds almost good as Shawn, was that HB Dizzle or something, whatever the heck Shawn Michaels does. Goofy, whatever. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about CM Punk. I know I've been covering the thanks, Barrett. I've been following the court case very closely from start to finish, and I've talked about it somewhat on here. I didn't do like a daily thing on here. I didn't feel like that needed to be done. Some people have done it, and some people did it well. Props to those who have done it and covered it. It helped me bring information to my audience, So CM Punk had one huge victory this week. Another victory was not in the books for CM Punk. I was hoping, you know, and it was one of those weird things. Some people being, you know, if you're a diehard UFC fan, I don't know what you felt, okay? Because I'm not a diehard UFC guy. I don't watch it. I watch some of the bigger names like Lesnar, but honestly, I couldn't give two craps about him anymore because he's up just making babies with mooses up in Canada. Ooh, that's gonna ruffle some feathers. While humping his Universal Championship that hasn't been on TV in what, a half a year. So being a professional wrestling fan and watching CM Punk go through this, I was obviously rooting for him. But, you know, it was also hard rooting for him because you don't, you know, I want him. I'm selfish, okay? I'm a selfish fan of CM Punk. And I always will be. Part of me will always want him in some way, shape, or form to come back to professional wrestling, all right? So if he won this fight, does that mean he continues in the UFC? Baron says, I'm not a diehard UFC fan, but I've watched my fair share of UFC, and it was quite possibly the worst fight ever seen. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to touch on that, Baron. Hold that thought. Wanting Punk to win could mean so many different things. Having CM Punk lose could mean so many different things. I think his future is wide open now. Conquering that court case was a huge weight off of his shoulders. And I know this is going to sound like I'm making excuses for CM Punk. And if that's what it sounds like, then whatever. I really don't care. And I've heard a million other people say this, so I don't feel like I'm original in saying it. I'm just reflecting my own feelings on CM Punk. Do I think that court case took a lot out of him? Absolutely. Physically and emotionally. This was a worst time in the world to go through something like that. Am I glad it's behind him? Hell yeah. Am I glad he won it? Hell yeah. Do I think it played into his loss? Yeah, there's a good chance, you know, and I don't know if we're ever going to hear that straight from him. I've heard a little bit of the interviewing from him over the course of the last week. I can't even friggin' imagine what Punk has gone through this week, physically, emotionally, how damaging everything has been. And then to go into one of the biggest fights of your life, to go up against another guy who's 0-1. Yeah, I was really hoping he won this. What that meant for him, if he won it, it's a huge accomplishment. I don't think it meant anything either way. But he lost. And this is my opinion on the fight. I feel like Punk gave it his all. You know, do you look at it from a fan's perspective and be like, oh, he could have done this and he could have done that? Yeah, you could say a million different things about that. But if you're in the cage and fighting someone, you don't know what the guy's thinking. You don't know what he's feeling physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. Was it hard to watch? Yeah, it was. And I'll tell you why it was hard to watch. Because, I mean, did Mike Jackson beat him? Yeah. But he also embarrassed himself and the UFC while he did it. I have never seen, now I've probably seen a couple dozen UFC fights in my lifetime. I haven't seen a lot. But I can tell you one thing. I have never seen a guy sit on top of another guy and do this for 3 minutes. What? What the hell was he thinking? He made an ass of himself and the UFC. I mean, he could have finished off Punk in the first round if he wanted to, but he sat on top of him doing this while Punk just bled on the mat. What the hell was that? Dana White was even pissed. And beyond that, I really don't know what the hell else to say about it other than Mike screwed himself. He embarrassed himself. He's not a UFC fighter. You don't see UFC guys sit on top. Okay, if you win a match and jump up on top of the cage and you're waving your arms and whatever and you're celebrating, that's when you do that shit. You don't sit on top of a guy while you're trying to defeat him and do this like, Popeye on crack. What the hell is that shit? That made it hard to watch because the guy, he was just playing with him and just looking like an idiot. I've never seen anybody. I mean, that makes me never want to watch UFC again. It's like, wow, you just embarrassed your entire company and yourself. Punk gave it his all. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, what is this? What does this leave for Punk? I don't know. Do I know he's going to show up in Chicago with a bunch of fans that love him the day before All In? Absolutely. With everything that's been said and heard and done this week, yeah, I'll be honest. It does put a little doubt in my mind that he's going to show up for All In. He's gone through a lot. He's put a lot of things behind him, and even more now with the loss of UFC. Does he want to continue doing that? I don't know. I don't think he even knows at this point. And if he tells you he knows exactly what he's doing, I don't think he'd be telling the truth. I think he needs a good couple months just to chill, get away from everything, stay out of... Hey, that's your opinion on Punk versus Floyd. Floyd's not even a good fighter. Okay. And hey, that's my opinion. Some people call Floyd Mayweather the greatest fighter of all time. I've seen a couple of his fights, and I fell asleep during them. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about Mayweather. Boxing just ain't what it used to be. Just ain't what it used to be. But no, Punk and Mayweather, no, that's not a... Nobody wants to see that, honestly. You can watch that. You can ask for it. I don't... As a CM Punk fan, no, I don't want to see that. So do I hope he goes all in? Yeah. Do I hope he takes time to reflect and look at everything that's gone on in professional wrestling this weekend and to look at how he can contribute to it? I hope he does. There's a lot of things that happened at Dominion this weekend that point towards a huge change in not just New Japan, but professional wrestling as a whole. And I've said this, I don't know how many times this year, and I'll say it again in this video. Professional wrestling is changing by the day, folks. This year, we've seen free agents do some unbelievable things. Some of them in are in my notes for this event. And I'm not going to go down the card and talk about every single little thing. I'm going to pinpoint stuff. I don't watch New Japan on a daily basis like a lot of diehards do. I look at the big events, and I pinpoint stuff that pulls me in. Names like, oh, that match looks good, I'm going to watch some of that. Most of this card I was not invested in at all, and there's so many tag matches in it. And I'm going to sound like Teddy Long on crack probably or something. Be like, oh, that's what SmackDown does. Bunch of tag matches. Okay, there's a big difference between watching a bunch of SmackDown tag matches and an event like this. I will say this. Okay, just to pick one match off this card as a huge example. Juice Robinson and David Finlay versus Yoshihashi and Jay White. Do I like some of these guys? Absolutely. Do I watch them on a regular basis? No. Half of them at best. But did they put on a good match? Absolutely. And the end of the match was a huge part of the storytelling in this match. It ended in Juice Robinson pinning Jay White. Jay White is the NWJP US champion. So you pinned a champion, that says something right there. So are we going to see that in the future? Yeah, you can put money on that. When are we going to see it? I don't know. There's a lot going on between now and Wrestle Kingdom. Sometimes they like putting seeds of stuff out this far out. We'll have to see. The first match was really good. Yoan Show with Romero at ringside against the junior heavyweight championship tag team champions, Desperado and I'm going to say this wrong. If I screw it up, I apologize. Kanemaru, I think that's how you say it. And that was a great match. But was I vested in it? No, because I don't watch this stuff every day. Every match on this card was good that I watched. Just, some of it I would just, tuned out a little bit for. I was waiting for, the big name matches. Here we go. Young Bucks. For example, I watch Being the Elite more than actual Ring of Honor television, but I know that the Young Bucks have been transitioning into the heavyweight class of their tag team bunch in New Japan. So they now were going for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, whereas they were stars as the junior tag team division. Becoming a fan of this brand, New Japan, I have very fond memories, even as a casual fan, watching, becoming a fan, watching the Wrestle Kingdoms and watching the junior tag team division kick off the show. I think it was a couple years in a row, and watching the Young Bucks amongst many other teams just absolutely fire the crowd up and just, wow, it's like, follow that. Hashtag follow that, and doing that so much. And now they're, they're more muscular. They're a little more jacked, and they're going for another tag team championship, a different class. And they beat Evil and Sonata, and it was great storytelling. And that's one thing that you see consistently in these matches is great storytelling, especially the headliner. I'll get to that in a little bit. The 3-on-3 is, you know, a perfect example of a match that I normally would not be vested in, but there were some big names in this. You got legends like Tanahashi and Jushin Thunder Liger going against the Bullet Club, but Rey Mysterio was also in this match, which put a lot of eyes on this whole event, just waiting for that match, waiting to see one of the greatest Lucha Libre fighters of all time. This guy's still talking about UFC. Hey, you just keep commenting about UFC. I'm done talking about UFC. But yeah, it was great seeing Rey Mysterio, brand new mask, brand new. You know, we've seen the Booyaka theme in WWE for how many years, and seeing a brand new entrance theme, brand new look, you know, incorporating the Japanese company symbol in with his Lucha Libre style was like, wow, it was really original. It was awesome. I loved it. And I heard something about he's going to be incorporating some new ring gear into some kind of new special coming up, or displaying it somewhere for something. I'm hearing little pieces in the news about something that Rey is doing in the future. So can't wait to see where that goes. I mean, this is one of the hottest free agents in wrestling right now. And I put up a poll on Twitter just before the weekend asking you, the fans, who's the hottest free agent right now? Some of them were in this event. Number one, talking about Rey Mysterio. Number two, Chris Jericho. He, I know I'm skipping over some stuff here, but like I said, I'm just kind of jumping all over the place. Naito versus Jericho, and the evolution of Jericho's character in New Japan. We saw like the evil Jericho come to New Japan and lose to Kenny Omega, which made people wonder, is this one and done? And then the day after, he attacked Naito, and for several months seemed like, okay, they're going to build up Naito now, this feud with Naito. And then everything went quiet. Everything went dead. And he started leaking little things about his future with New Japan. People started asking him, hey, what's up? Are you still with him? Are we still going to see Naito versus Jericho? And he's like, no, unfortunately not. You know, and you know, everyone believed him. I believed him. I was like, oh, that's a bummer. It's one and done. They couldn't come to the agreement on money, or they couldn't agree on storyline or whatever. You know, they couldn't come to some kind of agreement on something. Everything fell through. That sucks. So that was that. Then all of a sudden, boom, he attacks Naito out of nowhere several months later. Here we go into Dominion now, and he's going after the Intercontinental Championship, which at first I didn't think it was for the Intercontinental Championship, because when Naito was walking down to the ring, he left the belt on the ramp, and I forget if it was either Kelly or Callis. One of them said, oh, Naito's not defending it tonight. This is just a one-off or something like that. And I was like, oh, I thought it was for the championship. But then by the end of the match, he won the championship. He got the belt. And it was like, wait, I was a little confused. And I don't know if they were confused, but that certainly made me confused. But nonetheless, Chris Jericho, who is doing some great things in the world of professional wrestling, he's another guy he can show up anywhere, apparently. He's doing his cruise, incorporating Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling guys, which now it looks like he's going to maybe form some kind of one-off stable with the Bucks. You got to watch Being the Elite to find this stuff out. Go look it up on YouTube. So don't be surprised if you see this on the cruise or some way, somehow. A one-off, stable, Jericho and the Bucks. Be like, I don't even know what the hell you call it. They came up with some goofy names. I'm not going to think of anything right now. It's too late at night. And I'm too tired. But, and now there's word that because Impact Wrestling is going to be on Chris Jericho's cruise, that Chris Jericho is going to be involved with Impact Wrestling somehow, like on their front, not just on his cruise. I can't wait to see that happen if that's true. But now Chris Jericho's got the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Now, TNA back in the day had a relationship with New Japan. I remember Kurt Angle being the IWGP champion or something and bringing it to TNA. I don't think he defended it at TNA, but he certainly brought it there. The Dudleys brought their belts to TNA to show them off. So there's always been some kind of little relationship, Is that in the works again? That's what's happening in the world of professional wrestling this year. Different companies are breaking down those walls and working together. Impact's working with Lucha Underground, working with AAA, working with a lot of these growing indies because of who's showing up in them, the bigger independent names. And that's a great way to get Impact Wrestling all over the company, working with different people, building new relationships. You work over here, different people see it, say, hey, I want a piece of that. It's never a negative thing when you see companies working together for the greater good for the fans, giving them more options, more varieties, giving them matches they would never, ever see before. Giving them, what could be considered like fantasy matches. Greatest example of that, the Lucha Underground versus Impact Wrestling during WrestleCon weekend this couple months ago. Tremendous example of that. And it's growing. There was something announced while I was watching the show tonight. All of a sudden I heard that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were listed in an article on WWE.com. And then I heard that Xavier Woods challenged Kenny Omega to some like game thing. And I'm not a big gamer anymore. I used to love playing my video games. I've pretty much fallen away from playing video games. I still got my Xbox 360, but I use that more for just playing Netflix and stuff. I still download a bunch of free games. I just never play them. I just, spend my time doing other stuff. But yeah, people are now wondering, where is this going? Is this a way for WWE to bait Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks? And I know this sounds like I'm trolling this. It's just like, no, but I'm trying to think of the positive things about this. I'm not talking about Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks going to the WWE. I'm talking about WWE and New Japan doing something that would be completely unheard of in the world of wrestling. And it's just another extension of companies working together, doing one-offs, fantasy matches. Who knows what we're going to see within the next year? And I think it could be absolutely freaking incredible. But yeah, Chris Jericho is a new Intercontinental Champion, which opens up the door to where is Chris Jericho going to show up next? Is he going to show up in Impact? Is he going to defend it different places? Is he going to take that IWGP Intercontinental Championship and defend it in the WWE? I mean, there really is no impossibilities to wrestling anymore. If you look at what's happening this year, the walls are being torn. It sounds like a Jericho thing. The walls are being torn down, And Chris Jericho is a great example of that. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm going to sound like a pro wrestling hippie by the end of this. Love and wrestling and love and superstar Billy Graham and all that shit. But let's talk about the main event. A couple days ago, when this first happened, and I watched Ant talk about it, saying it was quite possibly the greatest match of all time. I watched Phil from Rant with Ant talk about it. At least I think he talked about it. Watched a couple different people commenting on it. Greatest wrestling match of all time. And that's all a matter of opinion, But I know that, and it took me forever to watch this. It took me 2 cups of coffee, and I'm still sipping one of these. By the way, shout out to Sammy Guevara, who has been drinking these on his channel, and I was like, I've never seen them anywhere around here until today. So I bought a couple. This is the Black Cherry Vanilla. And it's like absolutely delicious. Cheers. So yeah, shout out to Sammy. Sammy's awesome. Go check out his YouTube channel, and he's also going to be on Lucha Underground this coming season. So go watch that too, along with a million other things out there. Oh my God. Kenny Omega versus Okada. It was an incredible match. It was, when this match started out, I knew it was going to be a long one. And I knew all these guys were going to have to pace themselves. And they did it so well. And there's so many times in wrestling nowadays where stuff is rushed. And, we got to get our shit in 2 minutes because of TV and commercials and all this other BS. And cram a bunch of other stuff into 3 hours. Yeah, you bet you have no clue what I'm talking about there. But these guys put on an hour-long plus match. I don't know exactly what the time was, an hour 4, whatever it was. The first fall didn't happen until like a half an hour into the match. And these guys, I don't know how else to say it. Storytelling. These guys did it. They did it well. I usually don't rate matches. I would say, out of 5 stars, I would give it 5 stars. The emotion, even this is going to sound dumb. The lighting in the place, in watching the match and the camera work, it almost looked like you were watching a movie. It was like almost cinematic how they did it. I mean, props to everyone who was like really on their ball. Callis and Kelly, who are calling the match. You're not supposed to. Jay Meltzer, you're such a goof, Baron. you're not supposed to be biased in these matches. And by the end of it, they were so behind Omega and so emotionally vested in him possibly winning this thing. It was almost funny, to the point where Callis was just cussing and just completely uncensored. It was beautiful. I love Callis. Between what he's doing in New Japan and on Impact, he's an incredible mind in the world of professional wrestling. Hey, just another great reason why you should watch Impact Wrestling is because Josh Matthews and Don Callis is, I didn't know if it would work, but watching several weeks in a row with those two at ringside or calling the matches, it's working, folks, period. But between the emotion in the ring, the emotion, they kept showing the fans' faces, the moments, and the holding the head, and even the looks on the face of the ref, hearing the play-by-play. The crowd was just, by the end, was going out of their, you couldn't tell who they were chanting for, Omega or Okada, because it all just blurred together. But they were on the edge of their seat, and by the end of it, I'm going to get emotional talking about it. When Omega won, I had a lump in my throat. I had tears in my eyes. And then the Young Bucks coming out and congratulating him and everybody hugging each other. Oh, my God. Just everything. It wasn't just the match. It was everything. The lighting, the people, the audience, vested, the announcers, Okada and Omega, storytelling. Yeah, it was one of the greatest moments in professional wrestling history. It really was. The whole event as a whole was beautiful. And going into this, I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about a company I usually never review on here. I'm going to talk about CM Punk, and a million people hate him for no reason absolutely whatsoever. And I'm celebrating 5 years on YouTube. Well, here you go. This is this is me. I love wrestling, and this is just another example of why it makes me happy to be a professional wrestling fan. And you can take your stupid football 9 out of 10 times this last season when I tried to watch it and got so pissed off at just stupidity and these new rules. No, man, just like Kenny Omega said, man, professional wrestling, it's not just a sport, it's not just entertainment, it's everything. And he described it perfectly post press conference. And I was like, yes, exactly. And that's why I love watching it. So to sum up this whole big hot mess of a video that I just did, I'm happy and I'm proud to be a fan of professional wrestling. And I don't know what the rest of this year is going to bring, or what the next 5 years on this channel is going to bring, but I'm going to be here as long as I can physically do it. Is my COPD and my asthma eventually going to kick my ass to the point where I can't be on here and do it well? Yeah, probably. But I'm going to do my damnedest because I love this shit and I love talking about it. And I like having a little audience. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished over the last 5 years. I've gotten over 100, over 450 subs on here. I'm creeping up on 150,000 views. You would have asked me like 5 years ago where I'd be in 5 years on here. I probably wouldn't have guessed even half of that. but I've done what I've done, and I'm proud of it. And I'm very thankful for the ounce of success that I've had on here, and the people that I've met along the way, like the Ramblers, Rant with Ant, the Wrestle Addict, the new group, Andre Corbeil's WrestlingWithWrestling.com, and growing with that whole bunch. It's been a really good 5 years. And hang on, folks. This year ain't even half done, and we're already seeing just an insane amount of, oh my God, moments and things happening, not just matches, just people working together in wrestling, and it's beautiful. And I'm covering it. It makes me happy to cover it. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you dig the content, give it a like, give the channel a sub. Just hit that sub button. It ain't going to hurt you. And ring that bell for notifications, especially now that YouTube is changing by the day and not letting you see the stuff that you want to see. So if you want to see more of my content, like I said, ring that bell so that you know when more of my content hits your screen. Good night, folks. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow night with the rest of the Ramblers sometime during Monday Night Raw. And God knows that listening to us talk about God knows what is probably going to be better than 2-minute matches and half an hour of commercials. Good night, folks. Much love.